And here's a look at the Scott 310 DR. Let's go in behind, catch a glimpse of the inner workings. Okay, and you'll notice, yeah, this thing's going to get a multiplex adapter. But that's not what I'm doing at the moment. Right now, I'm making an adaptation to this Scott receiver here. Now this Scott receiver, the R57S, I'd say its tuner is very similar qualitatively to that 310 DR. Now what I'm doing here is I'm making it more immediately useful to my purpose by installing the following wires up there. And you can see I'm doing some work here because I have an additional wire that I'm adding. Right? This one right here. This one has ends like this. Right? Now where I'm connecting, right down there, that is where the preamplifier output enters the power amplifier. That's what's known as the amplifier bus. So you can plug in or receive a signal from the preamp, or as I mentioned, plug in to the power amp, all on the same line. So long as you've got no signal coming from the preamplifier, the power amplifier doesn't care where it gets a signal from. And the preamplifier doesn't care what's plugged in as long as it doesn't face an impedance mismatch. But generally you're going to do one or the other. So I'm going to adapt this and use it as a tuner preamplifier with all of the functionality of the preamplifier, including its tone circuit, which I look forward to having because I think sometimes I like to turn down the bass and my audio system doesn't let me do that at the moment. So, more to come. Okay, what we're looking at here is the intermediate step. I'm just about to get to work on completing this job. I have the second line to add. Okay, further intermediate step, I've isolated the wires and everything's attached, and you see that orange and white wire hanging down. That's the ground, and that's also going to provide strain relief for these wires to ensure that, you know, they don't get dislodged or pulled out. Okay, so there's the finished project. You can see the green wire. It was an orange and white, but I ran out. So I spliced on a green wire, and it connects up to the ground connection, and then the red and white wire correspond to right and left channels, and they go up here and then out the back. We're done. And you can see the wires come off like so. Actually, I've just hooked them together to keep them neat and tidy, but you can use either one. They're basically just connected together, and I've taken a wire off of the speaker ground and I've just wound it around there. But that wire, this wire here, it's not going anywhere. It's held in place by this plate, which is removable so that you can use this in actually anywhere in the world. It's got a switch for different voltages. Care to also notice the voltage, the wattage rating on this thing. It's 420 watts. Now what that means is that this Scott model R357 is a very powerful amplifier. It's about 75 watts per channel. It's basically the descendant of the 477 This is like the next generation. This came out in 1976. It's truly a beast. And now I can use it two ways. I can use it as a power amplifier, or I can use it as a tuner preamplifier with all the functionality that you get out of a full function preamplifier. Well, there's been a change here. I'm gradually getting stuff out of this space. I haven't decided what I intend to do with this environment as a listening space. This is where all my records are, so it will be my premium listening room. And of all the listening rooms I have available to me, this is by far the best one. It's a rectangle. It's a perfect, very well proportioned rectangle with interesting acoustic properties on one side and pretty much a flat wall on the other. I was thinking of getting back into quad electrostatics, and if I do, only, this is going to be totally empty as you see it now. So this is the unit that I worked on, and this mission here on the phono stage is giving me trouble. I'm using a moving coil cartridge, a Denon moving coil cartridge, directly into the phono stage, so you can see it's quite high. It's going to do a job on my speakers as I click it on and off. But that's a problem with this mission amplifier. It's a sort of a periodic problem, but there's nothing that I can do. Everything is wired correctly with respect to ground polarity. There doesn't seem to be a voltage present across the units either. So, nothing to cause that problem. But it is a moving coil cartridge going into a magnetic input. It's a remarkable phono stage, the mission. I mean, apart from that problem, it really is extraordinary. I mean, it is quiet enough, just about quiet enough, and has sufficient gain when it, surprisingly, to function, and function very well with the moving coil cartridge. Now I have a transformer. I'm going to dig it out and use it, but I'd really like to hear what moving coil cartridges sound like directly into a magnetic phono stage. It is a gross impedance mismatch. The cartridge is putting out about 5 ohms, and the phono input is really expecting to see 47 kilo ohms. You really would think that this wouldn't be a problem, but in some instances the result is that the sound is a bit bass shy. Not always, but with this mission there's no problem with the bass. It's handling it substantially well. Now remember, that's a 5 ohm impedance going into a 47 kilo ohm input. Shouldn't be a big deal. Should never be a big deal. You put a low impedance into a high impedance every day of the week. It's the other way that causes problems. So in any case, it's a charming unit. I don't know how much. That's a CBC, rich stir fry. All right, that's enough robbing the copyrights of the young folk. So that's the show for the day. Of course, because it's no longer on the phono input, when I turn this scotch off, it won't make any sound. Right? It only makes that sound when you're on the phono stage. Otherwise, it's fine. Just a curious thing, I picked up this CD player. It's a ridiculously low price, 229 Canadian. And the only thing is, And I don't know if this is the Achilles heel of all machines of this type. This is the way this little thing works. It's a beautifully made piece of equipment by some Danish company, but it's made in China. Really probably the Danish company just more or less brands whatever these Chinese manufacturers make, and they make an exclusive deal for 5 years. And by the time the deal is over, the Chinese company is selling the same stuff in a different box. So this is the box, but it's really just, you know, like a DVD RW drive. And what it's got inside here is essentially a little computer. And the computer takes what's on the DVD or the CD, whatever it is, doesn't matter what the format is, but I notice it does not play WAV files, which is like kill drag. You won't play WAV files? I can play WAV files on a CD-ROM. Why can't this thing handle them? I got a lot of discs with WAV files on the, you know, recordings, right? So it doesn't play WAV files. As far as the sound is going from the optical into this, right? Okay, let me finish quickly to describe how, because I skip all over the place. But this thing here, inside has basically a little computer, so probably something like a Raspberry Pi, and memory. And what it does is you put the disk in and it loads everything into memory. And then you're listening to the memory playback from there on in. You know, the disk is just sitting there. It just zips all the data into memory. You know, it takes about, depends on the disk, but a CD, maybe 4 seconds. So it does that right away, and then it loads it into memory and you get the memory playback. That's fine, but sometimes with both CDs and MP3s, it misses the beginning. It just truncates the beginning. It's like, it's missing. The other thing is, if it's continuous music that has track breaks, this thing inserts a moment of silence in the track break. So I was listening to the Catherine Wheel by David Byrne, and was Brian Eno in on that? I think he might have. But in any case, it's a continuous piece of music. So you listen to it on an ordinary CD player, and you know it sounds fine. But this thing, no, it can't play a continuous piece. It does insert a moment of silence in between the tracks. Insane. So, what else can I say about it? Apart from that, I have removed my CD player. Now, the CD player that I've been using is a Realistic, made in 1988. It's the Sony design. I would prefer the Philips, but this was a CD player. I don't know who manufactured it, because Tandy Corporation basically did their own designs and then chose companies to manufacture their products. But that CD player, which I expect was manufactured by Yamaha in 1988, is truly excellent. I mean, it's a self-contained unit. You take the output out of it is an analog output, and it really sounds very, very good. In fact, it sounds so good that I wonder what all the business with separating, you know, transports from DA converters seems to be a really messy affair, because all I can tell you is this combination here, where all this is doing is performing the function as a CD transport, and any will do. The $29 one should sound as good as this. Basically, if it's all it's doing is being a transport. So I'm hearing this machine, the Mission's decoding of the digital signal. That's the DA converter inside the Mission that I'm assessing. Now, I tried to do a direct comparison, the analog output of this into this, and just switching between the analog and the optical, but this really puts out a low level signal. It's actually similar to say, in the olden days, it's putting out roughly, I would say, 300 millivolts. And the CD player generally put out 2 volts. And this realistic CD player certainly does. And it matches levels with this optical input into the mission. Pretty much, they're very close. So it's easy for me to compare the sound of this with the realistic CD player, and I'm sorry, but this combo doesn't stand a chance. That's how much better the realistic sounds. Now I've pulled the realistic out of the picture. I can put it back in very fast. I've got an empty input here, and I don't know how long I'm going to tolerate this. The one useful thing I've discovered is that, let's see, can I turn it on? Where's the button? Un moment, s'il vous plaît. Doesn't seem to want to switch on. That's it. Oh yes, okay. So it's going now. I have one CD that I made and I put all my MP3s on it. So this is very clever. It actually sounds quite nice. Takes a while. Mystery. So to sum up, yes, we have no mañanas today. There's a banana joke in there somewhere.